Okay, welcome back. The third module of on American English. Right. So, vocabulary is not half the problem when you are speaking American English. I would say the most important problem is pronunciation. Some of the differences are very obvious to you because in standard American English, I am saying standard because in some accents this is different. We say that most American accents are, or at least the standard American English is rhotic. What do you mean rhotic? Rhotic, meaning the R is pronounced even if it occurs at the end. So in British English, you say father, mother. The is not heard at all, even if it comes in the middle and if it is uh, if, even if it is if it is flanked by consonants on both sides, you don't pronounce it. So farmer, the is not heard. Farmer, border, border, border in British English. But in American English, standard American English, you hear things like border, border, farmer. The both in both syllables, the is heard. But remember that not all accents have this er. Many accents on the east coast do not have er. They are non-rhotic. So how did this difference come about? Let me tell you that in the 16th century, all British accents had rhoticity. In Britain, they lost it in the 18th century. Okay, in America, they continued to maintain it. That's it. So, rhoticity is one distinguishing mark of American pronunciation. There are many other differences, like, for example, uh, when you say Siri, City, Siri, the T is pronounced uh, with a roll in America. T, T, T. Siri, Siri. In British English, city, 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 T. The T is very clearly articulated. Right. Again, another difference is the pronunciation of the vowel in a word like uh, which is spelled D-A-N-C. In Britain, it's pronounced dance. In America, it is pronounced dance. Okay. A, 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 a. So fast in Britain, fast in America. Mass in Britain, mass in America. The A becomes A. Similarly, when you have a syllable which has the phoneme O, okay, long O, God in British English. In American English, it is pronounced God, Gab, Gab. It is drawled out. It's a mixture of A and O. So you say doctor in British English. In American English, you say doctor, doctor, doctor. The A is heard. Okay. So similarly, you say uh, specialize in America. Okay. But in Britain, you say specialize in Britain. In America, you say specialize with a z instead of a s. Okay. So there are a number of sounds which are heard differently in American English. Okay. So a lot of other sounds also. Clipped sound, the clipping that you hear in British English. For example, you say governor, Governor. They swallow one syllable. The second one. They mix up v and instead of saying governor, governor. Actually, the word has three syllables. In American English, they say governor. Okay. In British English, governor, swallowing one syllable. This is called clipping. So there are such many such uh, pronunciations. There are also the accents on words. Where do you get the primary accent? In Britain, you say laboratory, Laboratory, where you do experiments. In America, it's called laboratory, laboratory, laboratory. The accent is on the second last syllable, to, laboratory. And some words which are written the same have different pronunciations. Lieutenant. In Britain, you call it lieutenant. There is no F in the spelling, but you pronounce it as lieutenant. American pronunciation is more phonetic. You pronounce it as lieutenant. So, lieutenant is a person who stands in for someone, a deputy. Okay. Lieutenant governor. Okay. Who's actually the uh, person who is looking after a union territory in India. Kerala has governor. Okay. Pondicherry has a lieutenant governor. It's somebody who's lower in rank. Right. So Americans pronounce it as lieutenant. Right. And Americans pronounce education, education, j, rather than d. And British pronounce it as education, d, and j. Okay. So these are some of the major differences in pronunciation. All right. Now, what about spelling? Tough job, right? If you type PROGRAMME on your lap or desktop computer or even on your tab, you see a red line. Why? Because in American English it is simply PROGRAM. Simple but different. Okay. If you write traveling in American English, there is only one L. In British English, there is two. Okay. In Britain, there is a form of form two, which is used as the past tense of verbs. Learn, learned. Sometimes you find. Okay. Uh, two rather than ed. Okay. Dreamt, dreamt, instead of dreamed in British English. You don't find such nonsense in American English. You don't say dreamt or learnt. You say dreamed or learned. Okay. So there are such differences. The Americans have Americans spell COLOU color as COLOR, not COLOUR as we do. Wherever we have OU, like the British, we follow the British system. The Americans simply have O. Right. So these are some of the differences which you find in spelling. Actually, this is the result of an 18th century lexicographer, one who writes dictionaries, called No Webster. You still have Webster's dictionary. So Webster was the person who first started simplifying spelling. So which is why American English has a more manageable spelling in some cases. But it cannot do anything with words like morpheme, you know, MORPHEME. I don't think the Americans have made it MORFEEM, which would be a phonetic spelling. That they haven't done. But wherever possible, they have tried to simplify spelling. Okay. And of course, pronunciation, yeah. Pencil, PNCIL in British English, SIL in American English. Defense as a noun, DEFENCE in British English, DEFENSE in American English. These are some of the chief differences in pronunciation and spelling. Now, what about grammar? What major differences can you find in grammar? Okay, one I've already stated, which is also a grammatical issue. You can say to instead of the in British English, but not in American English. Okay, you can have a past participle. Uh, you can have a past form called gotten. Okay, uh, gotten, gotten. Okay, you have a three-tier system in British English. Sew, sewed, sewn. Okay, stitch. തുന്നുന്നതിന് പറയും. In America, there are only two forms: sew, sewed. Okay, and the definite article is not used in America, where it is used in Britain sometimes. For name of countries, for example, the British sometimes say the Punjab or uh, the Channel Islands, a group of islands in the Atlantic. Americans simply say Channel Islands or Punjab. For names of rivers, sometimes the British say use the article. They say the Ganga, the Thames. Americans don't do it. They simply use the names Ganga, Colorado, Mississippi, the longest river in America, without the article, without using the. Okay. Then, of course, there are differences in prepositions. Okay. You say uh, fill out a form in British English. We also say fill out a form. In American English, it is fill in a form. Right. Uh, in British English, we say the government is taking the government as singular. In American English, you can say the government are, the cabinet are, the committee are, etc. So these are some of the differences that you can obviously find in American English. Okay. Prepositions, there are a number of other prepositions which are also used differently. For example, when you say in New York, okay, but sorry, at New York in America. In Britain, you say in New York or in London. I have been in London. So the cities, for the city, the Americans use at. Okay. On the road, in the road. Okay, on the road in Britain, in the road in America. So on. Right. So I think I've given you a picture of the differences between. Of course, there are differences in punctuation also, but they are minor. But be careful if you go to America. In America, you can put the full stop inside the quotation. Okay. So I'm quoting from Abraham Lincoln. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance. A quotation from Abraham Lincoln. So how do I write it in British English? I begin the quotation with I begin the sentence with a double inverted comma at the top. Then, of course, capital the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. I write, and then I put a double inverted comma again. Then put a full stop. In American English, the full stop can be put before the quotation. That's the difference. So these are minor differences. But when you read American English, if you are ever going to America, please be careful, because you will be mistaken for a person who knows little English. That shouldn't happen. So these things you learn by reading American English, okay, on the way. And all these things I described now: punctuation, pronunciation, vocabulary differences, grammatical differences. All these you learn when you are familiar with American English, of course. And of course, I gave you one interesting piece of usage. When you say you table something, in British English it means you place something for other people's attention. In American English, you just keep it aside to take up sometime later. In other words, postpone it. Right. This is one difference. And the way Britain uses, I mean, expressions like "I suppose." Okay. When you say, I'll give you an example. I suppose you will be coming to the campus on Sunday. So what does this suppose mean? Nothing. It simply means I think. You are not making a guess or anything. I think you will be coming to the campus on Sunday. So the British will say, I suppose you will be coming to the campus on Sunday. So the Americans will think this is a serious expression of an opinion or a guesswork or something like that. No, it's simply a filler, a way of speaking. Like, for example, in Malayalam, you can say something like, yeah, അതായത് ഇപ്പോൾ ഇപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞതെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ, so these are called fillers. That is, when you before you can speak out the facts, you just need something to keep up your conversation. ശരി പറയാനുള്ള കിട്ടുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് ഇങ്ങനെ എന്തെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ ചേർക്കണം. അപ്പോൾ ഇതാ ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത്, അപ്പോൾ അതായത് നമ്മൾ എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ, so you have other such expressions like actually. Actually, I wanted to speak to you. This actually doesn't mean anything in British English. In American English, it is actually a more serious thing. So it can either mean that the person whom you are speaking to thought that you wanted to speak to somebody else. Okay. So we are arranging for a marriage, and the boy tells the girl that I didn't want to talk to your father. Actually, I wanted to speak to you. In American English, this is a serious thing. In British English, it's nothing of the kind. When you say, actually, I wanted to speak to you, it simply means you want to speak to her or to him, whoever you are. So in Hindi also there is an expression like that, दरअसल. So you say, दरअसल हम आपसे बात करना चाहते हैं. दरअसल, something like actually. So such fillers are less in American English than in British English. I don't know. The English might have changed by now. So you have to refer to contemporary context, like watching a British and American film, or watching a British or American series. So all what I've said right now are important for you to understand even the language that you speak at home, Malayalam. So Malayalam ഇതേപോലെ ഉണ്ട്. Okay. I'll end this brief module by telling you one other important difference between American and British English. That is in the terms for weights and measures. Okay. So all over the world, people follow the metric system. Metric system is a system by which things are measured in multiples of 10. So, 1,000 meters make a kilometer. 1,000 liters make a kiloliter. 1,000 milliliters make a liter. Everything is in multiples of 10. 100 paise makes a rupee. Everything is in multiples of 10 or 100. Okay. In weighing things, kilogram, 1,000 grams make 1 kilogram. In Britain, the system is still different, I think. So instead of a kilometer, you have a mile. Okay. Instead of a kilo, you have a pound. മലയാളത്തിൽ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, ഇന്ത്യയിൽ പണ്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു, റാത്തൽ എന്നായിരുന്നു നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നത്, which is about 0.6 percentage of a kilogram. Okay. A mile is 1.76 kilometers. Mile is the larger unit. We don't use it anymore, although we used to do it in British times. So that you still find places like Padinonnam Mile, okay, a place near Kundamagaram, because that was on the 11th mile from Kozhikode. Or something like Etterand, a place. What is this Etterand? Etterand is 8 miles and 2 furlongs. What is a furlong? Furlong. Furlong is a measure of distance. 8 furlongs will make a mile. So a furlong is roughly equal to little less than 200 meters. Nobody uses it anymore in India. But old people still say, ഇവിടുന്ന് കഷ്ടിച്ചൊരു furlong ഉണ്ടാവും. Very few people. Okay. So this weighs everything. You have a measure called gallon in America, in Britain, sorry. It is about 4 liters and plus something. You have a measure called pint, which is about 375 milliliters. Liquor is still sold, I think, in that measure. എടാ പോയി ഒരു പൈൻറ്റ് വാങ്ങി വാന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്നത് beverages, right? So weights and measures is one area in which Britain is still different from America and the rest of the English speaking world in its language, right? Thank you. So please refer to this book I sent you, very small, just about 140 pages. You can just skip through, and nearly half of it is a list of words used in British and American English pairs. Right. So good night.